Hey everybody, welcome to the Stoners Lounge. My name is Girl, and today I wanted to talk about cannabis. How I became a cannabis user, why I smoke cannabis, how it's helped me, and what I've learned throughout the years of consuming cannabis. Okay, let me start off with saying I had friends who smoked weed in high school, but I personally didn't smoke it that much. I was more of a drinker than a cannabis user. And the first time I was ever offered weed was from one of my cousins. And they laughed when I said, no thanks, I don't want to die. And I know I wasn't going to die from weed. Weed wasn't going to kill me. But at that moment in my life, I didn't want to be stuck in a position where if somehow I got hurt and needed someone's help and taking me to the proper place I needed to be, I wouldn't be left to take care of myself, if you know what I mean. Plus, on top of that, you don't ever want to put yourself in a position where you rely on somebody to help you. Just because, if you come with high expectations and you expect them to help you and they don't, what happens next? What if they can't because of fear? Some people are afraid of getting in trouble and they're afraid of the consequences that come along with that. So sometimes people don't help. As I was growing up and going through high school, I did consume cannabis here and there, but there were times when I'd smoke and start to get this ugly feeling inside. I don't know if you've ever had that personal experience, but it was the feeling of doing something bad, and I didn't like that feeling. Growing up, I had to go through this program called DARE. And if you weren't one of those kids who had to go through the DARE program growing up, it's basically a program that was founded in Los Angeles around 1983. It stands for Drug Abuse Resistance Education, and it's basically an education program that seeks to prevent use of controlled drugs, memberships in gangs, and even violent behaviors. What surprises me the most is they made this program to educate students, and Weedtube just came out. Weedtube was founded by a bunch of YouTubers who got their channels deleted. And they're doing the same thing. They're trying to educate the community on cannabis and what it's for, what it does, how it helps. That's a big wow for me. Okay, so back to the subject, the DARE program. In this program, students would pledge not to use drugs or join gangs. And we would gather around on certain days, and our local police officers would talk about the dangers of recreational drug use, which is pretty awesome to me, but I feel like I was in a way brainwashed a little bit on some things due to the fact that I was kind of scared. Like I was saying earlier, I would get these ugly feelings sometimes, and I couldn't quite figure out why I was feeling this way. But I think I thought I was a bad person for consuming cannabis. And during that time, I had met someone who introduced me to this stuff called spice. Okay, guys, this is some crazy shit. If you don't know what spice is basically a bunch of different spices like dried up oregano, basil, and other plant materials. But that's not all. They use these spices and coat them with chemicals. How crazy is that shit? These chemicals, when smoked, would produce the same effects similar to THC. And although these effects were similar to cannabis, they involved higher risks and health issues. And during that time, when I was introduced to it, I don't think anyone really knew the health issues and health risks they were putting themselves in or giving the people. That's not the only crazy part, guys. Like, as I was going to the market and stuff, these were on the counters. Like, these were labeled as herbal mixtures and incense and potpourri. And as shocking as this sounds, were sold in grocery stores. Like, wow, what? I could get that at my local grocery store and get high off of that shit. What? When I'd head over to my local smoke shop and buy a bag of this crap, it was even marketed as a natural high because the active ingredients in spice are actually synthetic. That is a shocker, and that's pretty effed up. You know, its popularity is due in part to its low price. You can get high for a low price and find it fast at your local smoke shop. You don't have to hunt your dealer down. Smoke shops were actually marketing this as like a high that was harder to detect on drug tests. Hence why it became very popular. One of the reasons why I decided to go with it, instead of doing cannabis. I didn't know the dangers of it. I just knew it wasn't going to show up on my drug test if I decided to get a job. So what are the dangers of spice? Well, as I was saying before, companies were claiming that spice was a natural and harmless substance, but that was nothing more than a lie. So, in fact, from what I've learned, most experts agree that synthetic cannabis is much more harmful than natural growing cannabis. Like, the synthetic chemicals linger in the brain, binding up to 1,000 times more powerful within brain receptors. Not only that, but spice can also have long-term effects on the brain. From personal experience, I do want to share a story of mine with you about the last time I smoked spice and why I stopped smoking spice. It was just a bad situation. I do want to save that for another video. So for now, I just kind of want to talk about the side effects of what spice can give you. Hallucination, vomiting, confusion, paranoia, rapid heart rates, heart attacks, psychotic and violent behaviors, anxiety, seizures, loss of consciousness, high blood pressure, and it can even cause you death. Who wants to die from this shit? I personally don't. And I didn't stop smoking spice because I thought it was going to kill me. I didn't find that out until later. But we'll save that for another video. Okay, so what I do want to talk about is who are the higher risk groups? Who's more likely to try this drug out? Well, from what we know now, these drugs are cheaper than cannabis and it's easier to find. So this makes those in poverty a high risk for trying spice. And people with mental illnesses and those living in shelters or group homes are probably going to be at a higher risk than those who have a good family and live in a good house and are involved in things like sports and church and other community groups. And because of how easy it is to find and how cheap it can be to buy, that's why it's popularized among young people, young adults. From what I've read, National Institution of Drug Abuse reports that spice products are now the second most common drug for high school seniors. That's me. That's where I fell into place. You guys, think about how crazy this is. Weedtube just came out. Imagine if Weedtube would have came out when I was in high school doing this stuff. Maybe, for all we know, I could have probably found someone who had valuable information like this to share with me, to share with younger adults. I understand you need to be 21 to get onto the website, but the best thing to do is to give educational videos to these individuals. We can't stop everybody from doing what they want to do. And the best thing for us to do is to get out all the most helpful information out there. And the only way to do that is through a community, just like Weedtube. We have and we can share valuable information with each other. Okay, well, now that you know how I became a cannabis user and why I smoke cannabis, let's talk about how it's benefited me and helped me throughout my transformation of adulthood. I am a medical marijuana patient, and I use cannabis to help treat my medical and health conditions, whether it's a long-term condition or a short-term condition. I use it to treat any types of pain I'm having, like if I'm having a headache or if I'm having any type of back pain. And I also like to use it when I'm feeling depressed, to bring me up. And I do have ADD, so this does help me focus, whereas when I was younger, taking Ritalin really made me sick and not normal. But I really enjoy using it. I really enjoy using cannabis because I trust it compared to pharmaceutical drugs. And I feel with cannabis it works without any extra side effects, and the availability and cost is convenient for me personally. Alright, so a big benefit in consuming cannabis is that it can treat the disease as well as the symptoms. And in most cases, prescription drugs are used only to treat symptoms of underlying diseases or conditions by masking pain. So it doesn't necessarily help them, it just covers up the pain for them. Medical marijuana, however, can actually help treat some diseases while also helping the individual manage their symptoms. And for an example, when it comes to cancer, cannabis can kill cancer cells and inhibit the growth of tumors. Whether used in combination with more aggressive forms of treatment like chemotherapy and radiation, or on its own, marijuana can be effective in making a cancer patient feel better as well as fight their disease. What do you think about that? Another really nice thing to know is that there hasn't been any danger of overdose. Hello, spice can kill you. Prescription drug abuse is a big problem, and every year the results of prescription overdoses go up higher. A lot of individuals consume prescription drugs for uses other than medical reasons. And let's be realistic here. Addiction to opioids affect those as young as 12 years of age, maybe even younger, and that is shocking, my friends. In addition to this shocking news, it is much more likely for an individual to become addicted to heroin or cocaine based on opioid use than marijuana use, as opioids tend to come from the same source as harder illegal drugs. So, what you got on that, boy? Don't do drugs. They're bad for you. Okay, so if you didn't know this already, you're about to learn this. Gee, pay attention. When consuming cannabis, there are less dangerous side effects. One of the biggest drawbacks of prescription medication is that there's multiple different side effects you can obtain when taking prescription medication. Many people develop a tolerance to their dosage of painkillers, which makes them continually bring up their dosage to experience the same side effects. Don't you think that's kind of crazy that the doctors are fine with bringing your prescriptions up higher? Anyways, this leads to even more serious side effects and can cause other conditions to then need to be treated. And you know what that means. It's often treated with more prescription medications. Here, take another pill. Here, that hurts? Let me give you another pill. The reality is prescription drugs can be life-threatening. we need to take care of our bodies a little more better. Some prescriptions increase the risk of developing additional problems. Medical marijuana or recreational marijuana, well, whatever you want to call this marijuana, it has its side effects, yes, but they are generally much less dangerous and easier to manage. And these side effects are usually dizziness, tiredness, and low blood pressure, but much of these can be treated by adjusting the dosage or percentage of THC you intake. I want to talk about one more thing before I get going. You also have more choices and more options when it comes to marijuana. With prescription drugs, you only have one choice: to take the pill or multiple pills. Some individuals are on so many medications that they're taking dozens of pills per day. I have family members who take at least 6 pills per day, and I think that that is so unhealthy. If you're an individual who doesn't like to take pills, or you feel that taking pills irritates your stomach, well, you are very limited to options when it comes to prescription drugs, because there aren't many alternatives when it comes to them. Medical marijuana, on the other hand, comes in a variety of forms, including vaporizing, smoking, and eating. This makes it easier to incorporate the drug into your everyday routine, and it's easier to find the right method that works best for your needs. If you decide to go this route and head to a local dispensary, you can also ask questions. Don't be afraid. Ask away. Learn. It's good. You can ask questions about the different forms that are available for purchase, or for ways you can alter what you buy to make different forms of consumables. Keep in mind that altering the drug will change the chemical structure or even the potency. So you want to make sure you are aware that you may have to adjust your intake for the proper dosage if you do decide to alter your drug. If you are considering or you're currently using prescription medication to treat the symptoms of a disease on your condition, you should always keep in mind that medical marijuana can be used as an alternative treatment option. Just keep that in mind. Don't shut that opportunity, don't shut that option down. Don't limit yourself. Marijuana has fewer dangerous side effects. It's more customized to your needs and can even be more effective than prescription drugs. And that's where I end this off. If you're interested in obtaining your ID card so you can legally buy medical marijuana, I'll show you how to do that in the next video. Thank you for tuning in. This is my first podcast. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to do another one of these. It was pretty nice. Thanks, guys. Peace.